It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know.
News update.
This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Foul was against Siakam, inbound, Brunson gets it back, reverse layup, counted and the foul. How did he get that one to go? Hartenstein, another offensive rebound, out to Burks, he'll fire again, right wing, knocks that down, 5 3-pointers for Alec Burks. And the Knicks lead by 24, timeout Indiana.
A bucket here, you're in the driver's seat. Christian in the corner, KC3. Yeah! Top of the key, Jokic. Jokic, 3. Yeah! Denver leads at 106-92.
He was in the zone. I mean, a couple shots that I think I actually blocked, and the ball went in, and it was just incredible in that quarter. Put the team on his back.
The Denver Nuggets are up 3-2, and Rudy Gobert is right. The Joker put the team on his back. That's everything you want out of an MVP right there, isn't it, PK?
He was just more greater.
More greater.
Yeah.
Threes against pressure. Okey doke, pump fake, pivoting, spinning. 80-foot baseball passes, getting Jamal Murray a layup. He did it all.
I mean, what more great words can you say?
Words great maximum.
It's over and over. It's like it's a great movie, and you love seeing it. My wife watches while you were sleeping probably 100 times, but yet, oh my gosh, if I watch The Godfather, oh hell breaks loose.
So when you walked through a room and she's watching while you were sleeping,
Yeah.
you just like, I'm gonna go turn The Godfather on.
Like, it just goes nuts. When haven't you seen? Yeah, but you do the same thing on that little rom-com deal. And it's the same thing with the Oakman. It's just greatness over and over and over. It's to the point now, if it's not 40, 15, and 8 or whatever it might be somewhere in that ballpark, whoa, what happened to him tonight?
What's with this 24, 9, and 5 stuff?
Exactly, man. Jamal Crawford said it. He just plays at his own pace no matter what is going on. It could be like all this commotion. There could be a fire and everybody's panicking, and there he is. Hey, well, yeah, okay. I'll just do the safety techniques that they told me, and I'll get out on the street, and everything will be good. And he just seems to be under control at all times. It's just stunningly amazing to see him do this over and over again.
Denver's up 3-2. New York is up 3-2. Knicks beat the Pacers 121-91. Brunson was hot, 44 points. And the Pacers are just a terrible road team. They're now 1-5 on the road. And they got to win the last 2 now. They're down 3-2 to the Knicks. It's almost all over here.
And Brunson is just an amazing player himself. You know, he's not blessed with... Jokic has the height, right?
Yep.
So he's blessed with that. Well, what's Brunson? You know, he could walk down the street, and I'm not sure if you didn't know who he was, you wouldn't know who he was. And I realized that didn't make any sense, but I think you get the point. And he just continues to do it, and he's so crafty and guile and all those types of words. It's fun to see guys beat you, at least from my perspective, who aren't blessed with just overwhelming athletic skill. But yet he still finds a way to get it done. It's that's a form of entertainment for me to watch Jalen Brunson do his thing. And I was listening to the NBA channel this morning driving in, and somebody said that they should give the Executive of the Year to Mark Cuban for letting him get away from the Mavericks and go to the Knicks.
You're not alone with that. That's why people always root for the little guy. It's amazing. He's a short guy. I mean, he's not short if he's walking down the street, but he's a short guy in a big guy's game.
He's not exceptionally tall if he's walking down the street either.
He's not either. You're right. And he's a short guy in a tall guy's game, and he is dominating again. Cavs and Celtics tonight. Boston's up 3-1. They can finish it off, and that's followed by the Mavericks and Thunder. That is 2-2. The pivotal 5th game in Oklahoma City. I think the Thunder, but I don't really know.
I don't think anything. I think I'll watch it and see.
Bronny James told the media at the NBA Combine his media is not about playing with his dad, LeBron, who has stated he wants to do that. It's more about simply being able to make it and play in the NBA. I'd be happy about getting to the league instead of me thinking about playing with my dad. That's not my mindset at all. I'm just trying to put in the work and see where it takes me from there.
Yeah, and I listen to that, and I'm starting to be a fan of this kid. I mean, obviously, financially, he doesn't need the NBA. He's going to have Pop some more money than he could possibly spend, but he wants to make it on his own. He doesn't want a gravy train. He doesn't want to be, I got a job because of Dad, like so many of the folks that we see. And he wants to make it, and he doesn't know if he's going to make it, and he's just concerned about making it. And just the way he approaches it, the way he approached that interview, I'm a fan of his. I would like to see him make it.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Kirk Cousins says there's no ill feelings with the Falcons over the Michael Penix Jr. pick. The fact he says that doesn't mean that there's been some ill feelings over the Michael Penix pick. Otherwise, you just don't comment on the first-round draft pick. That's what happens with most teams.
Well, I think he had to say it. He had to say something.
Yep.
Put it to bed. Put it to bed now in May.
Full NFL schedule revealed tonight. A primetime special. If you don't want to watch the NBA or the NHL playoffs, now you've got an NFL schedule reveal also.
Yeah, I wouldn't exclude the baseball there, soccer bias guy.
I also excluded the soccer tonight. There will be plenty for you to choose from tonight.
No one's going to watch the soccer, though, so you didn't have to do that.
The Jets and the Vikings are going to play the first of 3 straight weeks in London. The Jaguars are going to play back-to-back games in the UK for the second straight year. So, a few details have dribbled out. The entire deal gets announced tonight.
Dribbled out?
Yes, dribbled.
Shut up and dribble.
Tom Brady said the Netflix roast of him was something he wouldn't do again. He regrets how it impacted his kids. In an appearance on the Pivot podcast, Brady said, I love when people were making fun of me. I just want to laugh, so I want to do the roast. Sometimes you're naive, you don't know, or you get a little like, oh, bleep. You just don't see the full picture all the time. So I think it's a good lesson for me as a parent. I'm going to be a better parent as I go forward because of it.
I thought it was a dumb idea to begin with. I never understood all the hubbub. Of course you're going to get, and they're going to try to one-up each other, and they're going to try to be gross.
More
that's
outrageous.
What humor is.
More outrageous with each passing routine.
Yeah, that's why I always admire clean humor, because that's way harder than just being gross.
A 3-judge panel, Nevada Supreme Court, siding with the NFL against former Raider coach John Gruden, saying he was subject to arbitration even as a former employee and thus ineligible to sue the league over his 2021 termination. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
The remnants of the Pac-12 sorting out the details. Oregon State, Washington State announced their TV deal. They've got a deal with the CW for most of the games, and they'll each have one game with Fox Sports. So the Beavers and Cougars have their TV deal in place. And UCLA could be paying Cal $10 million a year for 3 years instead of 6 as a result of the Bruins' upcoming move to the Big Ten and the demise of the Pac-12. University of California Board of Regents has a special committee, and they voted 7-1 to cut down the length of the payments. The calimony, as those two separate and go their own ways. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
2-0 pitch, and Olsen nails one high in the air, deep right center field, and is gone! 3-run home run, and a wrecking ball into the bullpen for Matt Olsen. It's 7-0 Braves here in the 4th.
Swing and a fly ball left field. Back goes Haggerty, still going, looking up, and it is gone! It's a 3-run homer. The drought is over. Nelson Velasquez, a 3-run homer, and the Royals take a 3-1 lead here in the 7th inning.
And the first pitch to him, he swings, hits a drive, deep right field, way back and gone. That's a home run for Ohtani.
Swing and a ground ball fair. It's going to win it for the Red Sox. Wong comes around third. He scores easily. Romy Gonzalez, the hero. And in 12 innings, the Red Sox beat the Rays 5-4.
Red Sox 5-4 on the Romy Gonzalez walk-off right there. You heard Nelson Vasquez with the 3-run homer. That was the big shot as the Royals beat the Mariners 4-2. The Rockies, after a horrific start, have somehow won 6 games in a row. They beat the Padres 6-3. And the Houston Astros, Ronel Blanco, ejected sticky substance, a foreign substance on the glove.
We should have had a domestic one then.
A domestic substance. The stickiest stuff I've ever felt on a glove, one of the umpires said after that. Looking for an edge. Any way you can find it. The Cardinals get the 7-6 win over the Angels. Did you see the video of the Cardinals manager getting thrown out?
On Sunday?
Yeah, I just saw that last night. I don't know why it took so long. I thought of you because I thought, with replay, that's all supposed to be over. But I guess he was arguing balls and strikes, and he couldn't get replay for that.
He's arguing the team is losing. He's going to lose his job. And so he's trying to show some fighting spirit and all that stuff. Stick up for my guys. That's what he was arguing about.
Bees lost 8-5 to Tacoma. Same two teams tonight. Tony Parks has the call. 6:50 here on the Zone for the pregame. 7:05 for the first pitch. DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
RSL hosted the Seattle Sounders tonight. The Sounders have been off to a terrible start and have just recently righted it. Their last 3 or 4 games, they've started winning after winning just one of their first 9. The struggle was real. They've been getting healthy. RSL's got a couple injuries. May have a couple changes tonight. We'll see how that shakes out. Pre-match show is at 6:30. First kick tonight at 7:30 right here on the Zone.
It's going to be on my Apple TV?
It will be on your Apple TV.
All right. I didn't know if they made it a national game or something.
Nope. Apple TV tonight, 7:30.
I will check it out.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NHL.
Right circle, drops, Coyle, back into the slot, McAvoy shoots, he scores! Charlie McAvoy sizzles it home, his first in the playoffs. Bruins 2, Panthers 1.
45 seconds to go, we're tied at 2. Draisaitl behind the Vancouver net, sent it out in front, Bouchard a shot, score! 3-2 Edmonton!
Edmonton scores with 38 seconds left to beat Vancouver 3-2. That series is now all tied up at 2 games apiece. And the Boston Bruins trying to do something they have never done. Come back from a 3-1 deficit. They win Game 5 2-1 over the Panthers. So they're down 3-2. They have fought off elimination for 1 game, and they will try again tomorrow. That is what is trending. It's brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, 8:30, Tim Lacomb's going to join us. Jazz radio analyst. Talk hoops with him and NBA playoffs with him. 9 o'clock, Bob Casper, Real Golf co-host. It'll be time to do our draft. We'll draft for the PGA Championship with Bob at 9 o'clock. And it's a Win Tickets Wednesday. We're giving away tickets to see Brooks and Dunn coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. All of that and the question of the day is next right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Would you rather have a top 3 pick or 3 first-rounders like you did last year?
Top 5 in this draft. No one knows who the number 1 consensus guy really is, even though it looks like Alex Sarr is the guy that's going to be targeted. I don't want 3 guys from this draft because I've already got 3 rookies from last year's good draft. So I'm going to add 3 more this year from a mediocre draft class. I want to be able to choose the exact guy I want. I'm going to evaluate this draft as thoroughly as I can. I want to be in a position where I can go get the best player I think is in this draft. Everyone's going to miss on the best. This is going to be like 2013, where the best player taken could be taken in the middle of the round. Go move up in the top 5 and go get the guy you really, really want, and then trade your other picks.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning: should Utah hire Andre Miller as an assistant basketball coach? Sean, Yes, with an exclamation point.
Just one?
Jason, yes, with 3 exclamation points.
Just 3?
Just 3. Sam, with the little 100 underlined twice in red. And
to the 100th.
To the 100th. And let him eventually take over for Craig Smith.
Yeah, I think that might be part of the problem here.
Wait a minute, we got to the heart of the issue?
Well, it's... Yeah.
That's the answer. Well, yeah.
Like I did with the Burgess thing, I started working it in, phone calls, texts, and any other form of communication that you can have. Find out what's going on and, talk to probably 5, 6 people. Now, I'm not reporting that Andre's taking a job, so let's get that right up front because I don't know that. But somebody... all the people that I talk to, I have a level of trust or I wouldn't bother talking to them. That makes sense, right? But one in particular, I spoke to yesterday, and I've known this man for many years, and he has no reason to say anything but what he knows to be the truth. And so he thinks there's administration is telling Smith this is what that he wants, that they want. That they want Andre on the staff.
Here's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let me share a vision of the future with you.
But, if you're Smith's position, if you don't make the tournament next year, are you gone? Do you want to bring in your successor now? Because if they hire him and it happens, there's going to be a ton of positive publicity. And I wrote about this. You can go look at it yesterday. The idea being that the program needs a jolt. I mean, it's had a lot of negative or kind of meh type news. At BYU, what seemed to be such a negative with Mark Pope leaving turned into big positive. Everyone's just jacked about Kevin Young. He coached in the NBA. He's 42 years old. Devin Booker and Chris Paul are going to come here, and they're going to recruit for BYU and yada, yada, yada. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the excitement level. And then Chris Burgess goes, and then the 2 ball players decide to come back. And they had a better season than Utah did in a better conference. So right now they got a leg up on them. And not that that's your direct competition, but in terms of positive news right now in the offseason, it is. And Utah's got a few kids in, but they don't really seem to move the meter. Maybe they'll be nice players and develop and be great players. I hope they will be. That's great for them. But obviously Carlson running out of eligibility, the other Carlson taking off to go try to play someplace else professionally, and Smith leaving to go to St. John's. That's all negative news. And you had 2 assistants leave for lateral moves, and Chris Burgess did not receive a big paycheck. So if you think he went to BYU for money, you're wrong. I guess I'm told he'll be on the air on our station. Not our show. I don't know him well enough, apparently. But that wasn't the case. There was other reasons. That's not a knock on Utah. But the point is there's a bunch of information out there that's just sort of trending positively for BYU and negatively for Utah. So you bring in Andre Miller, it's, oh, my gosh, the people who have the NIL money. Now, this is what was told to me. You can believe it or don't believe it. I really don't care. That the people who have NIL money saw him play, and they remember. And we all remember because we don't have NIL money, but we're of that age group. We saw him play in person 1,000,000 times.
And having seen him play in person 1,000,000 times, here's one for you. They remember? Of course they do. Who could forget?
Right. Yeah. That's just, even if you didn't see it, you remember it. That's how incredible that run was when he was a junior.
Impressive doesn't even begin to sell what happened.
Talk about putting a team on your back in the way we just spoke with Jokic. I mean, just amazing. And, he's a prop kid. I don't even think they have that anymore. And he had to sit out. He was a quiet, shy, even a little pudgy kid, according to Majerus, that first year. But he stuck it out. He didn't quit. He stuck it out. And then he did what he did, and he could have gone to the NBA, but he earned his degree, so you get the year back. So he did everything you're supposed to do. and the guy was telling me, plus he's black, obviously, and that's a knock here. He can direct it, answer the questions directly, not go talk to this guy. No, I was here. I know what it's about, and it worked, and it can work for you. So it's nothing but positive there if they were to get him to come aboard. Absolutely. And those folks of that age group who've got the NIL, they would go flood. They would be calling to you to see. This is what was told to me, that they would be calling up, what can I do to get involved? You got your usual people who are involved, but he would extend beyond that. And he said, Andre Miller has no enemies. Everyone in the state of Utah loves Andre Miller. BYU fans love him for what he accomplished. You hated him in the moment, but he's done nothing to get under your skin except play incredible ball and then go play 17 years in the NBA. That's a success story that everybody can get behind. And I went and listened to the interview we did with him a year ago. And, humble and not over the top. And so there's so much positive there. And this guy said to me, if I had to bet, I think it's going to happen. That's not me reporting it. I'm just telling you what I heard. You can run with it. You can think I'm full of crap. Doesn't matter. But that's where it stands. We'll see what happens. And also told that, Harlan went in and told Krystowiak, hey, I think you need to make some changes. Why is that? Well, blah, blah, blah. We need new energy, need new excitement. And Krystowiak said, no, we're fine. And then 2 days later, he fired him.
So if Craig knows that history, encouragement from Harlan becomes a demand.
I don't know if that's the case, but if you want to make that leap, there's precedent. And you thought that Krystowiak should have been fired a year or so earlier, so that isn't necessarily a negative by Mark Harlan. I'm not slamming Mark Harlan whatsoever.
I did think. I thought the program had stalled. I thought it was clear it wasn't going to turn around. It was actually, as it turned out, it was actually getting a little worse every year.
Yeah.
And there was, the last year I think was just a COVID thing. They'd done all the layoffs, had taken this huge financial hit, and just buying out a coach then would have looked terrible. And maybe it would have actually been financially tough to do. Yeah. So
Mark Harlan, his job is to oversee the athletic department, isn't necessarily to make friends. So I'm not making a value judgment on what he did with Larry. He made the call. So be it. That's his job, and that's what he did. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you what guys back then had said. And this is sort of old news now. We're going back 4 years.
But it goes to how Mark manages.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, man. So I thought maybe he should have got another year, but probably it didn't matter. Who knows? And you thought it should have been done a year earlier. So everybody's got their opinion. That's the way these things work.
And it's built up, and it's 2 decades now, and people are impatient.
For sure.
What makes sense to me, not knowing who you've talked to, I can probably try to guess, but it would just be a guess, is that the program unquestionably needs a jolt, and Andre would unquestionably provide a jolt. The only negative I can say to this is that we're basically talking about winning a press conference, and that's not the way to rebuild a program in the long run. The way to do it in the long run is to get someone who really knows basketball. What's worked in football is one of your own. Oh, wait a minute, I'm describing Andre. So you can say, well, it's not about winning the press conference. Well, he will win the press conference.
I think that's old school thinking,
I was about to go to that. I think winning the press conference in the NIL era is more important than ever because you need people to write the checks to go get the players.
So it is important.
Yes. And furthermore, I think he answers the questions afterwards that you would need as far as the program has become transitory. It isn't just this last year. You can really look over 10 or 15 years of players who've transferred, assistant coaches who've come and gone to the point you can't even name them. And so Andre brings that stability. And I think that just to underline the point you made that should be obvious to people, the fact he's been here 25 years earlier, had a great experience, and wants to come back now answers a lot of the negative recruiting you hear and generates the cash. So if there are people pushing for this, don't we all get why they're pushing for this? What's the other answer? What's the other plan?
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right, though.
It doesn't. There are no guarantees. This goes back to coaching hires, which we only talk about head coaching, not assistant coaching. But I think it applies to assistant coaching. How do you really know something's going to work?
Yeah, you look at Clyde Drexler didn't work. Chris Mullen didn't work.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing was a total bomb. Those are all, gosh, that's 3 Hall of Famer, isn't it?
The better you are as a player, the harder it is to pull off. But Andre spent so much time in the world of coaching at different levels. Now, he hasn't at this level. I don't know what opportunities he has or hasn't had along the way.
Yeah, I only think it's been a few years, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he
played,
did
like
2
you said.
years G League and then a few years high school. That's not a lot of time. It's outside of his resume.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't Andre Miller at Utah, you wouldn't hire him.
Agreed.
So that's something that, man, that would cause me some sleepless nights to think about that, because Mark, he's charged with overseeing the programs, and if this doesn't move the way you want it, then you'd be 0 for 2 with the men's basketball. That's not good. And you haven't had to make a football hire.
Right.
But you're going to soon enough, within the next 5 years, if sooner. My guess would be sooner, but I don't know. Kyle will decide what he decides. Your women's basketball, that was a Chris Hill hire. She's obviously knocked it out of the park. But you made a baseball hire, and they're doing really well. But you gotta hit on your high profile sports.
Football and men's basketball, and football has basically been a case to all you have to do with football is adjust to the constantly readjusting reality. I mean, the league stuff, the NIL, the transfer portal. There's been plenty going on there. The one thing you haven't had to worry about is the coach and the coaching staff.
The excitement of it all is an absolute no-brainer. But whether it's next year or whenever, the excitement of it will calm down, and then it'll be about results. And speaking to this one individual that I was speaking to, says that, coaching today, head coaching, it's not about X's and O's. Andre's smart enough. He knows the game. Obviously, he knows the game. But that he can hire just bona fide basketball nerds who know X's and O's out the yin-yang. You need somebody who can create a level of excitement and to get people fired up and to get guys in the program that have name recognition. And that's the name of the game today. It's about pizzazz and what you can sell and all that stuff. And if that can work, man, I think that it would be such a smash because people would be so fired up because there's plenty of folks that are in our community, would you say, in the 40 age, 50s, 60s, even above that, who would they'd go nuts, man, to see that type of player want to come back and lead your program. One of the most successful, arguably the best player ever to play in a Utah uniform, and they've had a slew of assembly line of great, great players. There's just no doubt about it. They've been an outstanding program throughout the decades. And there would be so many people that would just be so fired up about it. And this guy says he thinks it'll happen, but what's the level of Craig Smith? Are you going to twist his arm to do it? How's that going to work? Is that's something that Andre would want to go in without Smith's approval? That seems to be a little sticky. Not saying that he wouldn't approve it. I don't know. Maybe he would say, yeah, okay, this is what's best for the program. He'll help me get it going. But I could see where he would view this. Hey, wait a second here, man.
I can see where he'd think both of those things at the same time. Neither one's an unreasonable thing to think. He will help generate NIL donations. That seems like a pretty good bet. You got to have recruiting contacts. Having a guy on your staff who's played in the NBA, a lot of players want to hear that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for as long as he did. Wow. Sort of the Maurice Cheeks of his generation. An outstanding player who never really got the ultimate due. that he was worthy of because he wasn't flashy. He didn't go behind the back. He didn't come down and make no-look passes. He wasn't, on purposely charismatic during press conference. He just answers the questions in a low-key manner. We all know his style, and it worked. It's worked incredibly for him. But as an NBA player, I read somewhere, you would love this. I don't know the entire stats. You can go look it up. It's like the most assists, most points, most rebounds, most games played, blah, 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 without ever having been named to an all-star team. And it seems preposterous now that it's done that Andre Miller never made an all-star team.
Should have made one along the way.
Yeah.
Like Kirilenko made one along the way.
Right.
Okur made one along the way. Hornacek made one along the way.
Right.
At some point,
Yeah.
okay, the injury replacement, Mike Conley made his all-star game.
Right. Yeah. Does seem a little bit silly that never happened. And now it's Jamal Murray, who's never made an all-star team. Seems a little bit silly that he's never made an all-star team. But he'd be able to sell so much. Sell the Utah experience to a T.
Mm-hmm.
I could argue that no coach in a history of coaching could ever sell the Utah experience better than Andre Miller.
No coach, in the history of coaching.
In the history of Utah basketball.
Okay, well, that narrows it down a little bit.
Well, that's what I said. I didn't say in the history of coaching. I said in the history of Utah basketball coaching could sell the Utah experience better than he could. And the way he was embraced, it was a love affair.
Not going to argue that.
That ranks
It was a love affair.
as good as any love affair that Utah ever had. Now, I can only go from 1993 on, but I can't imagine that there was somebody who was showered. And his mother, Andrea, I got to know her. I spent time in their house in Compton. And the amount of affection that each had for each other was unlike anything. And so who could sell that more than he could? Nobody. In the history of Utah coaching. If you want to go the entire world, I'll leave that up to you. I'm not going to go that far.
Ben says, to the question, should Utah hire Andre Miller as assistant basketball coach? Ben, if he's the best person for the job. You got an opening. Who can move the program forward better than Andre? As an assistant, setting aside what would happen if he was head coach one day.
Oh, he does become head coach and then hires Alex Jensen, Van Horn.
Get the band back together.
Throwing Chambers and Vrains.
Hanu Medela is in charge of University of Utah International Recruiting. He's our foreign-based analyst.
Why not? Pace, he scouts foreign guys. He's seen them either.
Pace, who you got for me in Italy?
Yeah. Right. He knows the foreign market through his son. And
I was streaming a EuroLeague game at 9 a.m.
Plus, he just has relationships.
There's a 16-year-old you got to look for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what it takes.
The grandkid of my former teammate.
Yes, duh.
I know.
That's not that outrageous.
I was getting texts yesterday from other people about that discussion we had about basketball players and golfers. Basketball players. The kid of a basketball player can make it. You get the size. But the golfer.
It's hard.
Oh, you got to find 20 more yards on that driver. You got to make that downhill putt and read that break.
Yeah.
Genetics don't help you that much when you get to that level. They'll help you for a while, and being around the game early will help you. But
yeah, the discussion we were having was that there seems to be so many more sons of former NFL players, whereas NBA players who make it and that are involved in the game right now. And golfers, most, if not all, probably not all, that's too hard to say, but a lot of their sons play golf, but yet we haven't seen some stars, second, third generation, whatever it may be, fourth generation, as far back as you want to go, be stars, but yet we've seen it in baseball. We've seen it
Right. Where's the golf
basketball?
Where's the golf version of the Manning family?
Yeah, Steph Curry. What's his face?
Right.
Who's the dad? What's the dad's name?
Del
Curry. Yeah. Obviously he's got two sons, both in the NBA.
Where's the Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr.?
Bonds. Vlad Guerrero. Guys that are playing today. I mean, the Toronto has like three guys. Biggio. Yeah. Right. And these players are really good players, not just – even if they were just hanging on. If you're hanging on in the big leagues, you're a good player, right? There's no – like Roger Clemens' son has kind of been bouncing up and back, and he's with the Phillies right now. But the fact that he's bouncing up and back tells you just how good he really is. It may not be a star at that level, but so you got that. But we don't really have that on the PGA Tour. And that's an interesting phenomenon as to why not.
A 20-foot downhill breaking putt.
I think it might be somewhat of a numbers game, too. In that
125 is smaller than 450 in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And 1,600 in the NFL.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so that 125 basic, it's a little bit more than that, but that's the recognized figure, is that if you make it at 22, you could still be doing it at 40. Whereas in the other sports, you're probably done. So it opens up spaces. It's bigger numbers, plus it opens up more
Football's
spaces.
Passing through every 3, 4, 5 years. So much of the league turns over.
Yeah. Where we see these guys,
it's
they get their
120.
card
There's 120.
and they just keep it.
Yeah, there's 125 spots, but it's locked down for 20 years.
Mostly, yeah, because who wants to give that up?
I don't see Tony Finau walking away. Tony, have you thought about walking away? No, I didn't get hit in the head.
Yeah, I mean, what a life that they get to do that a lot of us do for recreation, they do for occupation. And you know, I've covered some golf events. I usually get credentialed to go to the Phoenix Open, and so they're the Waste Management. They'll give you a courtesy car, and so you have to walk through the parking lot to get to where the media center is, which is usually below the pro shop, is where they always have it. And so they give you a courtesy SUV, and then while you're golfing, they wash it.
Wouldn't want to have to. Okay, we don't have to go back to your hotel or your house in a bad.
February in Phoenix is not the monsoon season. You know what I mean? It might rain. It did last year, but usually it's really good. Like in the monsoon season, it creates all sorts of havoc, to quote a great basketball coach. Well, not now. Not at that time, but then they wash it. I mean, the amount of perks that they got is just, and they get to play those courses and the fans and adulation and blah, blah, blah. It's just incredible.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We got our draft coming up, and we will talk with Bob Casper, PGA Championship. He'll join us at 9 o'clock. Tim Lacombe is talking NBA playoffs at 8:30 right here on The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I need you to explain to me what the complainers were complaining about, or the complainers who were complaining about the complaining.
The complainers complaining about the complainers.
That one.
The initial complaint is that you tanked, you lost all these games, you went 5-25 down the stretch. The problem was the two teams that left them were the two teams the Jazz tanked so hard to surpass in the lottery standings.
So the tankers were saying that they should have won more?
No!
But it is proof that tanking is a flawed strategy at best. At best. These teams that didn't quote-unquote tank, they were actually legit that bad.
Well, Atlanta made the play-in tournament, didn't tank, and Brooklyn doesn't own their own pick, so they had no reason to tank.
Right, and bam, jumping up.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is Brooks and Dunn. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all of the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. We're giving away tickets to see Brooks and Dunn, Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater, May 30th, and we will give those tickets away in about 1 hour. So stick around for that.
Okay.
Thanks, PK. Question you put up on our Facebook page, DJ and PK. Do you want the Jazz to pursue Charlotte's Miles Bridges in free agency? And the overwhelming answer to that was no.
No?
No. Matthew said no. Melody said no. Trent said absolutely not with an exclamation point.
Why not?
And Dustin said nope, and then posted a link to a story from the New York Times that details, the headline is, wife of Hornets player Miles Bridges shares photo of alleged attack, quote, can't be silent anymore, close quote.
Yeah, it was very ugly, no doubt about it.
Right. So there's that. There's been other stuff with him. Nothing matches that story. I mean, that is the story with him that people go to. And he was suspended for 30 games for that by the league. But there's
missed a whole year.
Other incidents. On April 14th, they suspended him for 30 games. And then subsequently, he had to sit out the 2022-2023 season. So maybe they rolled that out in two parts, I guess.
Yeah. He was gone for a whole year. Yeah.
So he missed the end of one season and then a full season.
Yeah. Right.
And then there was another thing. He was threw a mouthpiece at a fan, and at a Hawks fan, and was fined for that. Doesn't rise to the same level.
Big deal.
No, it doesn't rise to the same level.
Barkley did that, didn't he?
Barkley spit on a kid. Yeah. So do you want him? And the answer from Jazz fans is resounding no, not really. Or as Matt says, not even a little. Irregardless, if he had a good season last year, I don't want him on the Jazz ever.
Okay. The folks have spoke.
Yeah. Tony says, I really don't think at this point, for what he'll want or what we need to give up, he's worth it. We really need to pursue.
Free agent, so you won't be giving up. Only thing you'd be giving up is cash.
You can give up cash and cap space. We really need to pursue either getting better long term or spend the money and picks we have now to get better this offseason. Choose a path.
Well, wouldn't that be Miles Bridges? You're looking toward getting better?
He's still in his mid-20s, and he's coming off a 20-point-a-game season.
Because this was on X yesterday. The Jazz and Pistons are expected to pursue Miles Bridges in free agency per at Mike A. Scotto, S-C-O-T-T-O.
Scotto.
From Hoops Hype.
We've had him on the show before.
The Hornets want to re-sign Bridges following a career-best season averaging 21 points a game, but there will be other suitors. Which, if you're going to sign a free agent, you want there to be other suitors, because that means he's good.
You're the only one who wants him.
Right. He's probably not going to be anything close to a difference maker. I don't think Bridges on his own is going to be a difference maker. He's not that caliber, and there's not that many players available who are of that caliber. But that's somebody who is available. And he'd make your team better.
Will they sign him and then flip him for an asset?
I don't know. Why would you do that?
Who did they bring in from Minnesota? Was it Minnesota? They brought in somebody and moved him right
Kessler.
away. No, not Walker Kessler.
Yes, they did.
Okay, that's not who I'm talking about because it's someone they flipped.
They flipped?
Yep.
I hope he landed on his feet. When?
It's like when? What do you?
What decade?
2 or 3 years ago. No, it was recent.
You're talking in the now. This administration of the Jazz.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Pat Bev?
Well, it's Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt.
Is that who you're thinking of?
Who went with Vanderbilt in the trade?
Well, it was
in the trade to L.A.
You can look at
Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley.
Yes, and he had his own situation.
And remember,
who's gone now.
Yeah, and he did the thing, and it was a big deal at the time, and he put the tie on and answered all the questions and did a Zoom call. And I'm going to be different. I've changed. I've learned from my mistakes. I think his mistakes were different, but whatever. And I'm different, and they brought him in, and then he was gone midseason.
Okay, but
people don't want to root for this guy. People don't like him. He's got this baggage. If they bring him in and then turn around and move him.
Okay, but how about they bring him in and he blows up and he's a great player?
then some people will start to forget all about whatever happened.
I mean, they had this other player here who was of somewhat renown who had a checkered past.
As it turned out, yes. I believe we're looking for a phrase that applies to sports fans all over the place. Selective amnesia.
Yeah.
I like this guy. I don't like this guy. This guy did that. This guy did that.
Right.
And then the players, okay, hanging on at the end of the bench, role player, starter, or
But I do
superstar.
think there's levels of transgression, if that's the word you want to use, and putting your hands on a woman is like right there to killing them. It's pretty bad stuff.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
It's a major problem.
Yeah, you know, there's some things you just... This is not stealing a box of condoms from Smith's.
No. It's somebody.
Yeah.
When you're hurting someone that you have obvious physical power over.
Right. Yeah.
Woman.
It's nasty, man.
Kids. Yeah. Spousal or child abuse.
Right. That's bad stuff.
Which brings the question.
No doubt about it.
With the 450 players we were talking about in the last segment in the NBA, isn't there somebody else you can go get? Spend that money in that space on? The roster spot and the cap space? Who would make the team better?
I'd have to on the surface it says I would say yes, but I get the point. I think you're trying to make a bigger point, but the practicality of it, I don't know that the answer would be yes. I can't specifically say that for sure that the answer is resoundingly yes. You can go down path ABC and get the same result, because if you could, you would. Who wants to bring in a domestic abuser?
If you don't have to deal with the problem, why would you?
Yeah. Right. If they were, I have no idea that they would do it, but if they were to do it, you would assume they would have gone through deep, intense investigation. What was going on? What is going on now? What has been learned? What form of, which you can't really have a form of, but in a sense, guarantee that this won't ever be done anything remotely close to it, ever even close. I mean, if you read the thing, and I just remember that the domestic abuse was involved in front of the children. So, and these are young children, obviously. He's 26 years old. They have to be young. And so they witnessed their father beating up their mother. That's horrific. That's
brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
You can't overstate how awful that is. But yet he's playing for Charlotte, and the world continues to go on.
Well,
he sat out the year.
I'm sure there's somebody right now saying, "What about second chances?" And what?
Well, he's already got one.
The legal system puts you through whatever they put you through, and the league suspended you. So at some point, do you get another chance? Well, he did.
Well, yeah,
he played last year, right?
This is.
But we just have a list of Jazz fans saying he doesn't get a chance here.
Yeah, that's interesting. On as far as second chances, you know, Ray Rice, which was on video, got he didn't get a second chance. Was it because he wasn't good enough? Because who's the dude from Oklahoma? Was it Milton, the running back? Went to Cincinnati.
Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't Milton, but I knew it beginning. And they were at like a Taco Bell type of place. The gal kind of gets in his face a little bit, and then he drops her.
On video, no less. Like
Yeah.
So Ray Rice is sitting over there saying, "What about me?
Well, you're not good enough."
There it is.
Yeah.
Do we want to put up with the baggage you bring?
Is that why the reason is? I don't know. That was
which,
the
to your
reason.
point, none of us are going to have the time, the money, or the access. But you would assume the clubs that are trying to sign him to a contract, which I think we all assume will be long term and big, pretty big money, are going to do their homework. Because if you sign him and then you have another incident,
oh yeah,
how you looking?
Yeah.
How you looking now?
Wow, that's really
right.
bad. That's bad.
But they all have, the investigators they use.
That's what I'm saying. You have to go through intense, deep research.
Which is what they're doing right now on a draft class, let alone somebody who has a track record.
Yeah, I know. But according to, what's that guy's name? Scotto?
Yeah, Mike Scotto.
Saying that they would Jazz would be interested.
3 of the 30 teams who are interested. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Tim Lacombe, 8:30, joins us. We'll talk NBA playoffs with him then. The rookie makes the debut. How did that go? Next.